All right. Long form journal prompts were on page 281. And the purpose of these, there's going to be seven of them. I'm going to do them separately, is each of them are an exploration and actually a bit of a fast track with Parinama method as far as establishing each of the hubs in a particular way. It's interesting as I've looked over them that I've wondered, it's kind of I made the choice to not have the journal prompts in the techniques and exercises, mainly probably from a formatting standpoint of just there's just so much in this book about like that this is really about fitting things together that somehow these wound up in one place and I think they work really well together. So the value of doing these one by one is that it's actually a faster way for an establishment of a stepwise process of like bringing in the hubs. And the first hub is pretty much like the least sexy, the foundational hub of physical safety, where there's a lot of interest people have in as far as this type of work and even the kind of desire for transmutation and transformation is to change one's life in ways that are understood to want to change it. And one of those being like, well, my problem that has to do with feeling unstable with physical security would be completely solved with wealth. And the idea that like if I had money, I wouldn't be fearful. If I had money, I wouldn't be worried about eviction, or I wouldn't be worried about paying my mortgage. I wouldn't be worried about food. Now, there's absolutely, like a reality with this that has to do with like meeting basic needs, like being able to meet your needs. But the thing is the embodiment of that feeling of not being able to meet needs is is like kind of a stain that stays with us after we've had any kind of programming or patterning that is related to feeling physically insecure, which almost everyone has in one way or the other. The idea that only capital T trauma is going to induce this. I mean, we live in a culture where paycheck to paycheck is a reality for a lot of people. And, the differentiation here is so like, cause it's like, I want to be careful about not seeming like really disconnected and dehumanizing for people. Cause I like folks have brought it up to me in the early stages of their practice that this is a really hard notion for them. And they feel kind of activated by me talking about it. And then it comes back full circle where it's like understanding that what I'm actually talking about is the feeling in our bodies of hypervigilance and that feeling of fear that if you speak up, you're undermining your safety. That fear as if you speak up, you're like in relationships and you show your true self and you don't like hyper emphasize other people's needs, then your your safety is undermined. Going down to the third hub, that if you behave with authentic power and individuality, that will put your safety at risk. That if you're, like having emotions and feelings and expressing those puts your physical safety at risk. And so this is something that's, kind of like unsexy, but it's an underpinning for being able to enter into like the type of like somatic embodiment that is able to actually feel ease and as a result access some of the like kind of more deeper nuanced profound aspects of the upper hubs. Now, if so just as a point on this is that if you are in a place in your life where you really are actively living paycheck to paycheck, you know um where you don't, so maybe you don't, like don't have health insurance, food scarcity, rent is due and you've got, like I remember once I had $4 in my checking account, um, car, no brakes, that like this I'm talking about like my own experience here, but one of the things I just want to point to this is that um is this isn't about becoming delusional, it's about being able to find calm within yourself, which is hard to do. And sometimes when we're in the like crosshairs of the intensity of these circumstances and situations, it's not really the right time. We have to resolve it. But if it's a chronic situation, if it's like, I mean, for many people it is, and I think it's, it doesn't seem like we're moving in the direction it's going to get a lot better for like the like macro population, is that it's being able to find a safe place within yourself. And also, I will say that how I work with a lot of really wealthy people, and as someone myself who has been, uh, you know, $4 in my checking account, no family to support me, rent is due, I'm sick, I have no health insurance, my car has no brakes, um, and young, that quality, like that experience is like that can really become embedded into kind of the reflexes. I mean, that was happening to me when I was still my nervous system was still developing. Um, but also if it ever happens, it's like that can kind of stay with you, and I don't want to get too into personal stories, but I will say that the like one, when I had this one moment many years later where I brought my car to the shop and they had to do a repair, and I was like all of a sudden, and I at this point, the money thing wasn't real anymore as far as being an actual like active threat. Um, but I still felt it all the time. I still felt the fear of that was related to depending on my own survival. And so it was just very active in me. So the whole time my car is in the dealership shop, I'm tense because I'm like, how much is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost? And when I went up to the desk to, my car was ready. When I went up to like sort of reconcile my bill, they're like, oh, it's covered on the warranty. And I was like, and the shock for me was like, I went into my car and I drove out of the shop and I kind of parked off a little bit and just had a big cry. It's just such a release. But but that's one example of like carrying something over, and some folks carry it over kind of indefinitely. So I guess this is like a really long road to probably a really short point, which is that the idea that the physicality, the feeling, the emotional layer, and even like the cognitive rationalization around physical security is going to be resolved when the physical security threat is removed is just not true. Um, so what we do here in the long form journal prompt with the first hub and in the first hub practice is we're actually really working to come back to a place of trust in this aspect of ourself and be able to feel safe in our physicality, which is, there is no such thing as absolute safety. Like this is just, I mean, that the like being able like believing that we can protect ourselves against danger isn't the strategy. Actually, I mean, the fact is that ultimately, what we want to do is be able to live lives with a decent amount of, to a great amount of physical freedom and trust, and just accepting that, like, look, things happen, and when they happen, we'll deal with them. And I trust in kind of like the flow, and I trust in my ability to be able to handle them. But I will say like that for me is like it's a really deep one. This is a really deep one. So I'm looking forward to doing this. Um, so let's talk about it. I'm going to read through it. And so this is a long form journal prompt. So pillars of a Parinama practice, the long form journal prompts are to be used monthly or semi-monthly, not daily, when you have time, such as on evenings and weekends. These practices complement the techniques and exercises for each hub in part two. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think one of the things with like when I wrote that, I mean, do whatever works for you. I mean, if this is something that works as a journal prompt, like on a Monday morning, like rock on. I think one of the things I was trying to do is like create this economy in this practice. That it was important to me that this could be woven into just a really like a normal life, a normal householder life, a person with a lot of responsibility. So I think I was kind of trying to point to, like, okay, maybe do this when you have a little extra time because this might be evocative, but I don't think that that's like a really like essential direction. So here we are, we're on page 282. Is it 282? Yeah, 282. What's really funny? 282. My car that didn't have brakes, that wasn't paid for, had a car payment that was so beyond what at the time was reasonable for me to pay. It was $282. And it was like so much. But I mean, like that's another thing. That's like when you don't have money, whatever financing I got on that was probably incredibly predatory. But it's funny because I remember that number was always just like sort of haunting me. Because it's like, how am I going to make it? How am I going to make it? So there's that. Anyway, it's interesting that that's like kind of a memory that came up and it's associated with that number. So anyway, first hub is a safe place. So describe in detail where you feel physically safe. It's most effective if this is a physical place you can create to find sanctuary, but it can also be an imaginary place. Use as much or as little specificity to describe it, keeping in mind the following considerations. So follow along, if you will. You don't have to write this down. Helps too. It helps too. But also this in particular, this practice is if you actually really invest in bringing the feeling into your body and have that be the system of record, so to speak. So the first prompt is body. So, and keep in mind, we're creating the place where you feel safe that can be yours at any moment. This is something you create that you're in control of. There aren't, the external world, like you're giving yourself a place to come to for physical safety, and to feel, to shed hypervigilance. So it's like finding this. So here it's like for the body. So the first, we're going to look at body temperature, food and hydration, activity, visual, auditory, and connection. So the first thing we're bringing our attention to is like for this safe place is, are you lying down, seated, or standing? Are you moving or still, outdoors or inside your home? How are you clothed? Are you wearing socks or going barefoot? So just take a moment, like where your body is when it feels the most safe. Is it lying down? Is it seated? Is it standing? Is it moving? Is it walking? Is it lying down? Is it seated? Are you inside your house? Are you with somewhere else? Are you outside? What are you wearing? What feels particularly good? Is it something cozy? or not? Something light, silky? Are you naked? Do you like to be naked? Are you wearing socks or are you barefoot? So bring yourself into that. Like, what's the safest, like the most comfortable place where you feel physically safe? And just invest in that. And even if you have to press pause on the video and just spend some time bringing that feeling into your body. And even if it's imaginary, where just you find yourself, you imagine like I'm laying in a field in the sunshine, or I'm, walking near a river, or I'm in bed curled up with my blankie. So next is temperature. What is ideal for you? Do you like to be cool, warm, or even hot? So where does your body feel the most at ease? Just think about it. For me, one of the things was being a kid that went to school, summer was associated with being ideal, but for me being hot, I don't love it. I just get really overheated. I run hot, so it's like when it's cool, I feel better. So like 55 degrees, I think, is like kind of a really good temperature for me. I sat outside of a restaurant eating soup at the end of November. Like I was the only person on the patio, and people thought I was crazy, and it felt really nice. So it's like, what's ideal? Do you like to be really hot? It's like in a sauna, sitting in the sun, getting like that feeling of being just like absolutely like hot and, in the sun. Or do you like it like Arctic cold? Some people like it super cold, like to be in the like winter, in the snow, out in the elements at crisp. Like find a temperature, like, and really connect with that. Now, food and hydration. Is there something you eat that provides comfort that you can receive as nourishment and nurture? Do you have a beverage? What is it? Once again, this is your place where you feel physically safe. And if safe is too loaded a word, it's just like there's just no vigilance. You just feel completely present and your body is relaxed. Some people like ice cream. Some people feel like ice cream makes them too sleepy. Some people like a nice, really like heavy meal that sort of, kind of helps them kind of fills them up, so big, like a nice heavy comfort food meal that just creates sort of cozy from the inside out. A beverage, it's a water, it's a ginger ale, it's a tea, is it a coffee? Do you have a coffee spot? Do you have a type of drink? Like, what is it? Think about it and start painting the picture of yourself in this and feeling what it feels like, kind of even in imagining it, like what feelings start to like kind of come up in your body. Even talking about this, I'm not really even coming up with like a very crystallized picture, but just even talking about focusing on these specifics, like in this focus of them, it's comforting to me. So, activity. Is there something you're doing, such as writing, talking, walking, gardening, cooking, cleaning, driving? You're sitting in your car listening to music, driving, on a road. that brings back a lot of memories or feels really good, is really beautiful. Are you cooking? Recently I cooked, and I just spent hours just pouring myself into the details and like loving working with food. Buying food is one of those things for me. It's like going to the grocery store. There's nothing that makes me feel more rich than walking home with bags of groceries. I live in the city, so I don't drive to the grocery store. There's something like food, like there's just, talk about first time. It's just, there's something about when I fill the refrigerator up that makes me feel like nothing else. So cooking, cleaning, feel nice to like really honor your space. I mean, one thing recently was I was like, yeah, instead of buying stuff, I just like I'm sort of cleaning and honoring and sort of removing old stuff and really spending time with the things I do own. And the other activity is like, are you just sitting on the couch? Are you napping? Sleeping? Sleeping all day? Watching TV? Watching a movie you really like? Watching a TV show that you really like? Recently, I watched Wishbone. I watched a bunch of episodes of Wishbone, and that was great. Like, I think this is the dog that from PBS that like tells stories and dresses up in costumes. Visual. Is the lighting soft or bright? Are you watching something, reading something, or are your eyes closed? There's some overlap. My editorials in here are creating some overlap here. Auditory. What is the ideal sound for comfort? Oh, I see what I'm doing here. These are all hub associated. Oh, ooh, look at that. So, okay, auditory. What is the ideal sound for comfort? Is it silence or is there sound? If there's music, what is it? Do you hear talking, nature, or other background noise? Sometimes it's comforting to have a podcast on. If it just feels, like one of the things is if it's like if you want to be by yourself, except you don't want to feel really isolated, putting on, something with talking on it. Like the thing is with this too, it's really important is that there isn't the judgment, removing judgment that there's this way that this is supposed to be. It's like that the food that you'd eat would have to, blah blah. It doesn't. You're literally babying yourself. It's like you're literally giving yourself exactly what you need to feel good. And with food, sometimes it's like, it's like, look, I'll eat that, but I'll feel like shit. So that's not the thing. That's not it. But that's the only reason, like, why it would only be like, look, if I eat this, it's going to feel good, but then I'm not going to feel good. That's a good reason. Like, not anything about like the virtue of certain foods. Not here. Not here. Even the thing, it's like, oh, you can't sit in silence. Not here. Not here. You're giving yourself exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. Exactly what feels good. What makes you feel in your body safe and comfortable. Nothing judgy. Nothing judgy. Like nothing judgy. Not here. It's like I shouldn't be taking a nap. Not here. This is where you get what feels good. What feels safe, what makes your body able to relax and really settle into itself and get closer and closer to feeling, being able to just feel the simple feeling of being in it. Because the fight or flight thing keeps us out of our bodies. It's like we're looking on the horizon where, like there isn't any, like that's moving outward. Everything is like fight. It's like where you're going to move, what you're going to fight. Even freeze is dissociation. So what we're doing is like we're really bringing this into like, what is this place that we can create for ourselves that we're going to have, we're going to be aware of. We're going to create it before we need it so we can return to it when we need it, so that we have it ready. Is it a playlist? Do you have a playlist? Make a playlist on, if you have Spotify or whatever music service, like make a playlist. And every time a song comes on, you go, oh, this is like one of my songs. Put that on the playlist. The first hub, safe place. Now, connection. Is there a pet, a particular person or people close by? If so, who are they? So are you taking a walk? Is it with somebody? Are you laying in the field? Is there someone next to you? Is there a dog, hamster, a bird? In my case, a cat. This can even be someone who's no longer with you. Is to just really spend time with the memory of a person. To be comforted by how that person saw you and loved you. To feel safe in that feeling, to bring that into your body. So who are they? Who are your people? And everyone has them. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And I respect that. I know what that feels like. But a friend, anyone, or nobody, maybe it's just you right now for this. Maybe it's just you, and then the final things, or do you want to take a break from being with others? So as part of your connection, the Eros Thanatos kind of thing, where it's like in your connection, the separation being an important part of the strength of the connection. Back from the fourth hub. So this is on page 282. I editorialized it with some color commentary here that I found actually kind of nice to explore. But I mean, you can write this on as far as a journal prompt is concerned. I think this is a good one that is actually to feel this a bit more and to be able to find it. I mean, I think absolutely write it down. Absolutely write it down. There's no but I'm thinking it's like, if I'm feeling like I need my nervous system needs some regulation, needs some calming, and I want to be able to find this place inside myself, not be looking outside for it, is to find the place. It's like, okay, well, where is my body in this place? Where is my body? And find that, the lying down, seated, standing, moving, still, inside, outside, clothed or not, the temperature, your food and your hydration. So just as I walk through these prompts, like bring yourself, just kind of tap on the things that you found in here. The activity, like what are you doing in this state where you feel safe and comfortable and really in yourself? writing, talking, walking, cooking, cleaning, driving, whatever, taking a bus, riding a bike, climbing a tree. I climbed a tree the other day and sat in a tree for a while. Is that it? And even it's like whether you actually do it or just find it in you. Find this oasis in terms of just the feeling and the notion of it, the visual, like the lighting soft or bright. They're candles. You want the sun in your face, shining in your face, or do you like moonlight? Are you watching something, reading something, or are your eyes closed? Auditory, what's the sound quality? Maybe you like loud music. Maybe just loud music and dancing and laughing feels great. Or it's silent. Or there's soft, gentle sounds. Or you're listening to like a meditation kind of like track. Or some music. And connection. It's like who's with you. So, all right, we did it. And finding that. And I think one thing that's important in this is like what we're really seeking out in a first hub exploration is how to find these things without the external circumstances needing to validate the feeling inside of ourselves. I mean, there are times where it's acute, where there's just no denying it. But I'm going to like put a stake in the ground and say that we carry those acute times into times where that there's no longer any threat. So it's like being vigilant when vigilance is called for, but can we also expand our capacity to actually be unvigilant, non-vigilant, relaxed, and calm, feeling safe? And to be able to have that dynamic, to be able to be vigilant and active and activated when necessary, and to also be able to call into this place of rest and relaxation. All right. So that's it for today. Second hub tomorrow or whenever the next one is feelings and emotions. Yeah. Third hub power and third hub identity. Those are really strong ones. So those I used to do in the classes. So these are all, I don't know, I'm really feeling these. Hope you are too. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye for now. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time. All right. Bye for now.